Hello and welcome to My Retro Watches. My name is Mike, and in this video it's all about the watch you can see in front of you, and this is a 7025 movement, and we are going to take this movement apart piece by piece and show you how to disassemble it. This is also going to be a giveaway at the end of all the sequence of these videos. So if you're watching it in a year's time, it will have already been given away, I'm afraid, but hopefully seeing the deconstruction of a 7025 will help you with any of the projects that you've got. The 7025 movement is quite similar to a lot of the 7 series movements, so a 7005, 7009. Another common one is a 7019, which has got a calendar. It's got a day date complication as well. They've all got basically the same innards. So you could follow this video along to practically any of those types of movements. What I've put out in front of me here is a little array of tools that you would need to use to do this sort of job. I'll start off with this very cheap hand puller. So this is going to remove the hands off the dial quite easily. Incidentally, what I've done on this, for anybody who is wondering, I can't get the camera to focus, but I've polished the ends of these. I've made them really highly polished, which prevents basically any scratching onto the dial. That's the worst thing you can do. A lot of people put plastic underneath, which I've done before, or used a piece of paper. But I've also polished these, and I've sort of deburred them, so I've taken any sharp edges off them, and that really narrows down the risk. Anyway, I'm waffling on. That is the hand puller. You're going to need some sort of watch movement holder. So I've actually got a Bergen one here, and there's a number 4040. They're a little expensive, but they are brilliant. They fit everything. So it's fully adjustable. You can see there, the gap is that size. Turn it on the other side, it's even bigger. So well worthy of an investment. You'll only ever buy one of these, you won't need any more. Alternatively, there are other arrangements. For instance, VTA, which is Vintage Time Australia, a guy I know, he 3D prints these and sells them. This one is no good for this. Actually, this is for Seiko 7119, and a lot of the 6 series basically for this one, so the 7 series won't fit in, but they're quite cool. Right, okay, we have a bit of Rodico. It's a bit like blue tack, and it's very useful for picking things up. Whether I'll use it to dismantle here, I don't know, we'll see, but it's always good to have a bit on hand. A good set of tweezers, always a must. I tend to use just this one pair for nearly everything. The size on these, if you wanted to know, was a 00. I can't tell whether that's an SA or a 5A actually, but they're the ones I use. Some pegwood stops me from trying to touch the movement too much, although it doesn't matter on I don't think it matters on a dismantle, because I'm going to clean everything. It's the rebuild where it's important to not touch anything, particularly with your fingers. Then I've got some screwdrivers, a very cheap version, and then these ones here are all A&F. Which again are a cheap version. I haven't bought the Bergen ones yet, or Horotech. I want to, but they're quite price prohibitive, if I'm saying that right. And at the moment my funds haven't stretched that far to spending like £150 on some really good screwdrivers. You don't need all that many sizes. If you were just starting out, if you bought the black, which is 1mm, that would pretty much do for most things. Incidentally, the yellow is 0.8mm, and the red is 1.2mm. The blue, I can't remember what the blue is. It's just a lot wider, and I only use this for taking the rotor off, because you need a little bit of a bigger one for the rotor. So they're all the sort of tools you're going to need. You then need something to put all the parts in. This, I can't quite fit it all underneath the camera, but you can see is a I can't even say the word. Carpentelmalized. No, that's not right. You know what I mean. It's got lots of different compartments. Carpet. Oh no, I still can't say it. Right, so there's lots of slots you can put your things in and move it around. So if you're doing it for the first time, these are really, really good because you can, you can put every screw for every part in the right spot, and there you go. You know where they all are for reference later. So that is that. Oh, you can buy these from Cousins in UK, and they are literally, I don't know, £3.50, something like that for one of these. I've got 4. So there we go. What else? So we need something to magnify what we can see to make it a lot easier. You can use a loop. I tend not to use a loop. I use an optivisor. And again, you can't really see this under the angle I've got. But this goes over your head. You've got a light if you want it. And you can buy, sorry, it comes with various lens attachments. I just use the one. I can't quite remember the one I'm using, but it's the one that's right for my eyes. I've got some quite dodgy eyes, to be fair, and this one works best for everything. It also keeps both hands free. Optivisors are relatively cheap, so really worthy of an investment, because not only would you use it on watchmaking, you end up using it on loads of different things. Certainly if you're in your mid to late 40s like I am, where your eyes are failing and everything else is failing, so I use this for the most strangest of things, even reading sometimes. So that's how silly it is. Okay, so without further ado, we'll set it up. I'll move the camera down a little bit closer and we'll start the dismantle. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take the case back off. I've already loosened this, or I should have, with my fingers, but otherwise you'd use some form of case back tool. And we're just going to spin that off like so. And you can see the watch actually is trying to go, so that's a good sign. And then we need to remove the crown. So to remove the crown on these things, we need to pull the crown out first of all. And what happens is, I'm going to see if I can zoom in. Hopefully you can just see if you look here. So there's nothing there. We pull the crown out. And now there is something just showing, if you can see that. And all I'm going to do is use my tweezers to push on that down, and out comes the crown. Quite straightforward. So the first thing to go in your compartment is the crown and the stem. Okay, on this particular watch, because I've just done one exactly the same to practice actually, we have a couple of things. So we have a movement ring which goes around the outside here, and then we've got these little, I forgot what you call these, they're like little clips. There's one there, and there is one over this side here. So on this particular watch we need to just loosen that off, and I'm going to push it out the way. Maybe the other way is a bit easier. Yep. And likewise with the one over this side. Okay, that's out of the way too. Just going to nip it back up a bit. Okay, and then this ring will come out. Now I've already had to loosen this. It had a seal around the outside, or a gasket should we say, and it had gone really hard and it's prevented everything from coming out. So for the purpose of the video, I'd already loosened it and got rid of it so we could take that out. So put that to one side, and then all I'm going to do first now is, before I take the whole movement out, so I'm going to remove the rotor, because it's the easiest place to do it is right inside the case there. So I'm going to use my finger, cardinal sin to any professionals that would want to watch my videos, and I'm going to just, there we go, just unscrew that screw in the middle there. And then what you find is the whole rotor comes off. So we discard that, and now you can start seeing the full movement. I'm going to turn it upside down, and there we have our first view of the watch out of the case. As you can see, there's a bit of tarnish on the dial there, but that will either clean off, or it won't be all that noticeable, I shouldn't think. The hands are going to need a bit of work, but let's see what we can do. What I will do, actually, because I'm doing this video on the cuff as always, as you can see the crystal is completely cracked. These are acrylic crystals, and so it's like a plastic, which means you can polish it very, very easily. Obviously I can't polish the crack out. They're held in on these types of Seikos by a little retaining ring, which you can sort of see that goes around here. And the way you get that out is you press it out. And I've got a little watch press here, and all I'm going to do is pop it inside, and I'm going to screw down till I hear it go. It always sounds like it's broken it, but it hasn't. As you can see, it's brought out a lot of DNA and dirt and gunk, but that's it removed. So we'll put the case away because we'll eventually restore that, and we'll clean this up as well. So we'll put that away, and the crystal will end up going in the bin. So now, in actual fact, what I forgot to say is at this point I need to put the crown back in, and the reason for that is because I need to remove the hands, and I've not moved the hands to a suitable setting. Oh, and there we go, it's trying to live life again. Okay, so I've just put a little bit of watchmaker's paper under there, and I'm going to use the hand puller to remove all of the hands as such. And don't worry about that, that's just a bit of dirt. There we go. So then you just want to put your hands to a safe spot in your tray, and then that's that done. Now then, what I would normally do is remove all of the calendar works first, but if you're new to trying to do some watchmaking, the most valuable thing, or in my opinion one of the most valuable and fragile parts of the watch, is the balance. And to prevent to prevent any damage, I think it's good practice to remove the balance first. And to remove the balance, this is the balance, this is the balance bridge, or the balance cock as some people say. It's one screw, and we're just gonna, I haven't quite took it all the way out. I'm going to take the screw. I tend to just try and take it with the wheel as well, like that, and then I'll place it in the tray that way up. So the pivot's still in its jewel. Take the screw away as well. That is now safe, we're not going to damage that. So first thing then is to remove the dial. So how do we remove the dial? Well, on this particular Seiko, all Seikos or all watches have what they're called dial feet, so the little pins that go into the main plate. And on these we have this little, it's like a little yoke screw, and we just, or not a yoke, what am I talking about, like a little cam. We just turn that, and then on the other one, just need to move that case clamp again. So we'll just move it on that side as well. Now bearing in mind this might not have been removed from the dial for a while, so it's a little bit of prising. There we are. And the dial says 76. I'm just now curious if that is the year. The case suggests it is 77, so maybe the dial was made in 76. I don't know. If anybody out there knows what the numbers on the backs of the dials are, I'd be keen to know. So again, dial, really important. Keep that somewhere very, very safe. Okay, so I've now just clamped that up. And I'm going to need to use some magnification for the next bit for myself, which is always tricky when the camera is in position as well. Because what I need to remove is this cover. And I need to find a little space in my tray. So we've got the guard or the cover. I don't know what the real terminology is because I haven't got my notes in front of me to tell me what everything is called. But we will need to remove, there are 4 screws on this one. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I also say in all my videos, certainly again if you're doing it for the first time, just need to make some room here for my tray, try to do 1 screw at a time. Alright, there's no rush. What I found is if you loosen all 4 screws and don't remove them first, and then you knock the movement holder, or you just knock something, these screws are so small that they are so easily lost, and unless you've got lots of parts like I have, replacing the screws will be a real pain for you. Okay, so you remove the cover like so, and under the cover there is just a little dial foil there. So I will take that out of the way if I can get it. There we go. While we're at it, we'll put that back in the middle, and then we'll start with the rest of the other components. So the only spring you're going to find in this movement is this here, which is the date spring, I guess you can call it, and that's what keeps the date wheel. It's sort of like the click. It moves from tooth to tooth and holds everything in position. These can fly, certainly again if you're not used to them, and it's clipped in by that. There's like a recess in the case here, and that's sort of in the recess. So I tend to use a little bit of bogwood to hold it, and we will just take the tension off like that, and then that will, he says, no, I can't see it very well because the camera's in the way. I'll just try and see if we can pry it a little bit. Okay, slight change of plan, so we'll remove that first, and now we've got better access to it. It really doesn't want to come off, so I'm just looking for my small screwdriver. There. Okay, so we have the hour wheel here, and I just put my tweezers around that, and that removes quite safely. We have the minute wheel, which is just there. Again, that just comes off quite safely. And then this is the calendar mechanism, and you always want to excuse me, take a note. So take photos as you go along. That's something I haven't said so far. When I first started out, I took a part off, I put the part on the table here, took a photo, took the next part out, put it there, took a photo, and then you've got a reconstruction time lapse for your reference to know where everything goes and in what sort of sequence. But this is the important bit. So you want to make sure that these are the right way around. There are actually two components there. So you want to make sure that that little cutout there is in position with that pin. You put it the opposite way, it's not going to work properly. Okay. So again, I need to try and separate those. They're being quite stubborn. I don't want to force anything. Gentle bit of pry. As you can see, there it comes. So remove that. These can be a little bit tricky. It's like the intermediate wheel for it, like a transmission wheel. What you find on this one is it's got, try and put my hand in there, see if it will focus. It's got a gear on the bottom and a gear on the top. Nice bit of engineering. And then this one, like I say again, can be a little bit stubborn, certainly when you're doing it on camera. Yes. Now I don't really want to get under there because I don't want to damage any of the teeth. But it really doesn't want to, does it? It's playing funny buggers with me. Typical, because I don't want to reshoot this and pretend it's all going well. You need to see all the problems as they come, I think. That way you can learn too. There we go. Again, professionals that are watching, well, I wouldn't have thought they were watching anyway, but if they were, they might be laughing at me. I don't know. Okay, so the next bit is what we refer to as the keyless works, and the keyless works controls how the crown stays in. And it's quite a simple mechanism, really. So the next part is we'll dismantle that. Okay, so we have several components here. We have what's called the yoke. We have the set-in lever and the I'm trying to think now, the set-in lever spring, which are all connected, and then of course the clutch, all held in by one screw, which is not there, so it is there. Not that you can see that, because you can see my fingers. So remove the screw, and then we can remove the spring. Note the position. So when we reassemble this, that you want to get everything in the right position. However, it'll have a little bit of tension on it, certainly down here. What I tend to do is I just flick that bit out there. That's the tension off. And again, everything wants to be stubborn. So there we go, that's that bit off. The set-in lever's off, and it's pretty dirty as well, has to be said. And with that, the crown and stem is just removed, and the clutch is removed. So if you ever have one of those watches where the date setting goes wrong, won't set properly, or there's something wrong with the crown, it won't push back in correctly, it is just this part here. It's usually nothing else has gone wrong, it's all in the keyless. And to reset them is pretty straightforward. And if you're going to tune into all the videos in this sequence, you will see you'll see how to do it in the rebuild. So there's just one last part to remove, and that is the cannon pinion, which is just there. and you can buy special cannon pinion tools. You can try and use your fingers, you try and use tweezers, or you can use one of these. So we'll try this to start with, because sometimes this works for me, depends on how tight they are. And that doesn't want to grip it at all. If you'd use your fingers, if you've got fingernails like I have, you just pull it. Oops. Very unprofessional, but it's the way to get it off fairly safely. There is the component. You can do it with the tweezers. Like I say, you can pull it up. You want to pull it up straight, as they are quite a tight fit, well, they should be. But you don't want to damage the fourth wheel pinion or staff that you can see sticking right at the top there. That's what the second hand goes on. So there we have it. That's the deconstruction of the calendar side. We'll talk about the shop jewels in a later video possibly. So I'll just tidy these pieces up, we'll flip it over, and then we'll do the movement side. Okay, so now we're on the business end, or the frightening end potentially. I often thought when I started out that the calendar works was a bit more forgiving, and the motion side, as I like to call it, was a lot trickier. But in actual fact, there isn't really a lot to it. As long as you take a bit of care, there's not much holding it together, and just good working practice really. So we need to start with well, first of all we need to try and take the tension off any of the it might be in the mainspring, and on these, to do that, I first of all got to remove the transmission wheel. The mechanics of this is it has what's called a pull lever, which is a Seiko design, and as the watch winds on the rotor winds this, and you can kind of see, just trying to show you there, if you can see the pull levers are moving, and they're moving the transmission wheel there, which then transfers that movement onto the gear on the top, which is actually winding the mainspring. So to remove the transmission wheel is a left-handed thread, so it's an opposite thread. So you turn it clockwise, and all you can see is my finger. And we will remove that screw, put that somewhere safe, and then the transmission wheel will come off. And we just got to be careful of those pull levers, of course. There we go. So the mainspring is in the barrel there, and to take the tension off we have what's called the click. Let me just try and move that out so you can see it. The click is this little bit sticking out, and I don't know whether there's any tension in this mainspring or not, so we'll turn the barrel. Let's see if I can zoom in so you can see. So if I turn the barrel, that moves, see? So we turn it, hold it with the tweezers so it's out, and then we release the tension, as you can see there, with the screwdriver. So we do that quite safely, and there we have it. Now it is safe to unscrew this, which is just a normal screw, and we can get that out of the way. It looks pretty grubby, which is great, because then when it's all cleaned up it looks nice, so you get a bit of a sense of achievement. And what I can see there looks potentially like a bit of rust or a bit of dirt. It seems to be dirt, doesn't it, actually? Okay, so we need to remove the train wheel bridge, which is this whole assembly here. We've only got these 3 screws that hold it in. The pull lever, I have to think, and this transmission wheel, I'll show you how to remove those when we get to the end, actually, because it's a little bit fiddly. But for the time being, we just need to remove these 3 screws. So again, same principle as on the calendar works, and you don't want to lose parts. So remove one at a time. Okay, so there's 3. And now all we need to do is lift off the bridge. And you lift it off and up. And oops. I was going to say the reason you lift it up is because you have that pin there sticking up. Sorry, I just had a stray screw. A stray screw. Okay, well, I just had a battery problem with the camera, but I'm back up and running again. So the next thing to remove is, you can either take the wheels, but I'm going to take the click first of all. And it's not held in by a screw, it is just held in by a little pin into the case. And I'm not having a lot of joy with things today, it would seem. Everything wants to fight me, which is just typical. There we go. So we lever it out a little bit. And it's fallen back in again. So hopefully you don't mind my my ramblings as I make the mistakes. Okay, so first wheel to come out is the 4th wheel, or the sweep second wheel, depends what you want to call it. And we're just going to take that out like so. It's got a long pin, and the second hand sits right on the end of that. So put that somewhere safe. And then we have the 3rd wheel. Again, just lift it out. It's got a gear on the bottom, which you can't see because it's monofocus. There we are. We'll remove the whole barrel. I'm having problems with my tweezers today, aren't I? There we go. One barrel with a mainspring. We'll get to the mainspring later. And then that leaves this little setup here. So this is the centre wheel, and this is the centre wheel bridge. The bridge is held on by 1 screw. Very straightforward. So we'll remove the screw, which means we can then remove the bridge. Take the escape wheel. Take the centre wheel. And then it's left with the pallet fork, sorry, which you can just see there, and the pallet bridge. 2 screws. Again, we'll just lever that just a little bit, and then carefully remove that. Sometimes, rare occasions, the pallet fork actually stays in its jewel when you lift it off. That's a bit tricky sometimes, you've got to be a bit careful, you don't want to break it. So we'll remove the pallet fork, and then that is it. So everything on this movement is now disassembled, other than the jewel on the other side, but I don't take the jewel out until one of the cleaning processes that I do. Now I'm going to do a little separate, it'll be a quick video on cleaning, which I'll be leaving myself wide open to criticism, I should think, but it's how I do it. So the last thing to show you, if you want to do this properly, is the so this transmission wheel here for the pull lever. So if you want to clean everything and oil everything properly, you need to remove it. And it has, oops, my camera's on the move. You can just see it there on maximum zoom. Has like a circlip, and these things can be horrible. I don't like circlips, but I'll just put a little bit of what looks like quite dirty Rodico. Let's see if I can do this on air. There we go. So I just gently pushed it out. I didn't need anything else. This is where I will need Rodico. And that is to pick the thing up because it's very, very small. And then I can put it in the parts tray safely. And then once you lift this up and over, I'm still on full zoom, aren't I? Let's just zoom back out. We can remove this transmission wheel, which you usually find is quite dirty underneath, and the port lever. And there we have it. That is the full strip down. I know this video is long, but then all my videos are quite long. As I say, the next part in the series here will be just a quick video that I'll probably film tomorrow or something on the cleaning. Then we'll do a video on the rebuild, and then we'll start looking at how to do the case finishing and what I'm going to do on the case finishing. So please stay tuned for more. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's really important to me that you subscribe. A couple of big shout outs. First of all, to my Facebook group, Retro and Vintage Watches and Restorations. I always mention them in my videos. It's a really good place. So if you're just starting out on your watch journey, or you're really obsessed like I am and you just want to speak to people who are also obsessed, then that is the place to be. My second shout out is to a conventional watch forum, and it's where I learn a lot of things from actually. It's a place called Wrist Sushi, and I will leave links to my group and Wrist Sushi in the comments below, or in the description box, isn't it? Wrist Sushi is a conventional old style forum platform, but it's great. There's a lot of really good blokes in there, and they're the ones that helped me disassemble my first ever movement, which was a Seiko 7125A. It took me over 2 days to do it, and they taught me through almost every single part. So I'm a big advocate of that website. Really good guys, really helped me out, and I think you guys should look them up. Certainly if you like anything Japanese or any watch Japanese, it's a good place to go. Really good resource as well, because whereas Facebook is all very here and now, at least with the conventional watch forums, you can search for keywords, or you know, you could search for 7025 if you're looking for this this watch, and you'd find posts about it. So very, very useful. A big shout out to them, definitely. So I'll leave it at that, because this video is going to go on forever and ever otherwise. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.